Big thanks to Indy the AM for helping to support my channel. Use my coupon code RISTER or any of my affiliate links for an additional 10% off of any order from Indy the AM. You'll be helping me out when you do. Thanks again to Indy the AM for helping me bring this content to you. This past weekend, Combo Breaker 2024 went down in Illinois, USA. Historically speaking, Combo Breaker is a tournament series that is far more focused on traditional fighting games, like Street Fighter, Mortal Kombat, etc. But there was still a Smash Ultimate and Melee bracket at this tournament, with the Ultimate bracket drawing in 412 entrants and being classified as a C-tier tournament, aka a regional. This tournament had a few heavy hitters as the top seeds, but mostly consisted of hidden regional bosses, whose time it was to shine. Today, we'll be recapping Combo Breaker 2024, going over everything noteworthy from this tournament. I should point out that, because Smash was definitely a secondary event, and there was only one stream for it, we're working with far less VODs than usual. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. This tournament is slightly different from the other tourneys that we've covered this week, MomoCon and Comicpalooza. MomoCon saw nearly every single top 8 seed get upset and eliminated early, while Comicpalooza saw 1 or 2 breakout stars tear up the bracket. But Combo Breaker is different, in the sense that a lot of the top seeds were safe until the very last stretch of brackets, and the early upsets pretty much solely came from players making just a single upset over someone seeded much higher than them. It's these upsets that we'll go over first. Although, what I said earlier about the top 8 seeds being safe does have one notable exception. As the bracket started off, an upset befell the 8th seed, Zelda main Ven, who lost to a Peach main named Richer, who is the 57th seed. This win clocked in at an upset factor of 6, and cast Ven down into loser's bracket early. Although Ven went on a minor losers run, eventually Inkling main and number 12 seed Colorando 8 put a stop to it, eliminating Ven at 17th place as the 8th seed. The rest of the top 8 seeds though, including names like Onin, MVD, Loaf, and Ned, all made it out of pools without incident. There were some other big solitary upsets in pools, like this upset factor 6 win, obtained by Samus main Young Warthog, the 379th seed who defeated 38th seed Cobalt 2-0. Or this upset factor 7 win, obtained by Ice Climbers main and 119th seed Mido over the 10th seed Sir Dank, the Chicago Captain Falcon. A massive upset that we'll actually return to later, since Sir Dank went on a big losers run after this. But our last big upset for the first phase of bracket actually took place in loser's side. Tasabu, a Min Min Bowser Co main, defeated Dakpo, the 17th seed, 2-0, which eliminated Dakpo at 65th place. We're now entering top 96, but the upsets just won't stop. 14th seed and ZSS main Illusion got double upset. First by Brogan the Kazuya in a minor upset, and then in a much bigger upset by Toonlink main and 65th seed Japes, an upset factor 5 win that eliminated Illusion at 33rd. And lastly, we've got some players who managed to make more than one upset, and in fact, went on some nice runs. First off, we have Eclipse, the Chicago Falco main and 43rd seed, who got a tremendous win over Sandy, the 22nd seed, in pools. Sandy would drop into losers and went on a minor losers run before eventually losing to Solaros, the Chicago Zelda main, in an upset factor 3 win that eliminated Sandy at 33rd. Eclipse, on the other hand, would go on to get another upset over Kilogram Hours, the Iowa DDD. SNES is a Chicago Ness main who got several upsets, the most impressive of which being a 2-1 win over Dakpo in pools, but also getting a win over Abe Kazuma later on in bracket. Oklahoma Mega Man main and 80th seed Lorenzo got an upset win over Chicago Younglink Icona in pools, a minor upset, and then went on to get a major upset, defeating the Iowa Snake main and 16th seed Welfare Pickles 2-1, an upset factor 5 victory. But don't worry, we'll actually be talking about Welfare Pickles later on, because a loser's run awaited this Snake main. And the last player I want to mention for this segment is the player who went on the best loser's run that didn't result in a top 8 finish. That player is Toonlink main Lightning. Lightning, who's from Chicago, was coming into this tournament as the 70th seed, and in pools lost 2-0 to Ned, who was a top 8 seed. This meant that Lightning moved into top 96 from loser's side as seeded. But from here, the seeding would be shaken up quite a bit in a loser's run that was entirely off-stream. Lightning beat Sickfit 3-0, Addict in Game 5, then beat Richer 3-0, who had upset Ven earlier on in bracket, and lastly beat Solaros 3-1, who had just upset Sandy right before this. With that, Lightning made top 24 from loser's side, basically playing cleanup duty with some of our other upset makers like Richer and Solaros. Sadly, once in top 24, Lightning lost to Shelter the Bayo 3-1, for a final placement of 17th as the 70th seed after a tremendous losers run. It's now time for us to move into our top 8 finishers, seeing how they got there, because every other upset or losers run that I want to mention is in some way related to an eventual top 8 finisher. And unlike the last 2 videos, we actually haven't covered much from either winners or losers side, so we're actually going to start with winners side, because that'll help us contextualize losers later on. The first set of winners quarters was Loaf versus Comet. Loaf was a top 8 seed, expected to be here, but Comet was not. What I haven't told you yet is that right before this, Comet had actually beaten Ned in a Game 5 upset victory, with Ned entering top 24 from loser's side and Comet entering from winners. But that great upset wasn't enough to overcome Loaf, who managed to beat Comet 3-0 and enter top 8 from winner's side. Mirai, the Kazuya who beat Dabuz at Diamond Dust, and MVD both made winners quarters as seeded. And just as seeded, MVD won the set 3-0, entering top 8. Onin, the first seed of the entire tournament, went up against a Bowser main named Stealth Pilot, who had just defeated Richer in top 96 in order to make it here. And even though Stealth Pilot impressively took a game, Onin won the set 3-1, making winner's side top 8. And lastly, Atada and Atreus both made it into winners quarters as seeded, with Atada beating Colorando 8 and Atreus beating Raven King. When the two of them went up against one another though, it was Atreus who took the set 3-0, our final player to enter top 8 from winner's side. This means that, sitting in the loser's side top 8 qualifiers were Mirai, Comet, Atada, and Stealth Pilot. Each and every one of these players would face someone who had been on a lengthy losers run. Let's see how many of them would make top 8. Shelter is a Bayo main from Illinois, who was coming into the event as the 18th seed. He had beaten P-Easy but lost to MVD in top 96. And once here in top 24, Shelter had beaten both Lightning and Silsey to make it here against Atada. And while Shelter managed to take a game, Atada took the set 3-1, making top 8 from loser's side. P-Easy, the 15th seed, lost to Shelter in top 96 as we just mentioned, and afterward beat Kurtzwitch, Starman, and Pix to face off against Comet. Now, both of these players are Fox mains, but the prospect of the Ditto made P-Easy swap to the old main, Captain Falcon, the first time I've seen P-Easy use Falcon in a while. But it didn't seem like any rust had set in, as P-Easy clutched the set in a Game 5 over Comet, making top 8 through loser's side and eliminating Comet at 9th. Our last 2 players had actually gone on the best losers runs of the tournament, since they had both lost early in pools. Welfare Pickles, the Iowa Snake and 16th seed, lost to Lorenzo 2-1 in pools if you don't remember. From here though, Welfare Pickles went on a massive run, defeating Cantrip 2-0, Tasabu, who had just beaten Dakpo 3-0, Gaius 3-0, Jabes, who had just beaten Illusion 3-1, and lastly defeating both Raven King and Colorando 8 in 2 close Game 5 sets. Mirai had lost in winner's side to MVD's Snake, and here in losers, lost to another Snake, falling 3-0 to Welfare Pickles to place 9th as the 7th seed, and with Welfare Pickles making top 8. The last top 8 qualifier was Stealth Pilot versus Sir Dank, the 10th seed who had also been upset early, losing 2-1 to Icy's main Mito in pools. From here though, Sir Dank went on a run to rival even Welfare Pickles, defeating CRB 2-0, Hot Dog Night 2-1, Toasty 3-0, Kansas City Pac-Man main Isaiah in a close Game 5 set, Baskin 3-1, before getting a big upset over Ned, eliminating the number 6 seed at 17th place, before lastly defeating Crows, to make it into the loser's side top 8 qualifier. This losers run was so long that I actually had to zoom out in Chrome to capture it all in one screenshot. Now going up against Stealth Pilot, Sir Dank seemed unstoppable, defeating the Bowser main 3-0 and making top 8 from loser's side. And with that, we've got our top 8. Loaf, MVD, Onin, and Atreus entering from winners, and P-Easy, Welfare Pickles, Atada, and Sir Dank entering from losers. On winner's side, we have Loaf versus MVD and Onin versus Atreus. The more dominant of these 2 sets was Loaf versus MVD, as even though Loaf took a game, MVD was able to win the set 3-1, moving into winners finals. On the other side, we have Onin versus Atreus, which went to a decisive Game 5. And in that crucial final game, Atreus actually clutched out a win over Onin, casting the first seed down into loser's bracket and moving into winners finals against MVD. And not only that, but once there, Atreus swept MVD 3-0, moving into grand finals from winner's side after 2 back-to-back upsets on the top 2 seeds of the entire tournament. So now we have our losers bracket. MVD is sitting comfy in losers finals, Onin and Loaf are in losers quarters, and our 2 sets of losers eighths are Welfare Pickles versus P-Easy and Atada versus Sir Dank, both of our big losers runs being here. Unfortunately for Sir Dank though, this losers run was put to an abrupt end by Atada, who won the set 3-1. The other losers run, Welfare Pickles, actually managed to beat P-Easy 3-1, moving on in brackets. However, right after this, Welfare Pickles lost to Onin in a 3-0 sweep to be eliminated. This means that, although Welfare Pickles placed higher than Sir Dank, the 2 of them actually won the same amount of sets. On the other side of losers quarters, despite the fact that it went to a final game 5, Loaf pulled out the victory over Atada 3-2, moving on in bracket and eliminating Atada at 5th place. And just like that, this bracket is down to the 4 players who had entered top 8 from winners. But dear viewers, this is where this bracket takes a turn for the dominant, much similar to Mudace at Comicpalooza. Onin was, understandably, not very happy about having been upset, so they proceeded to tear through the losers bracket like a player possessed, defeating Loaf in a 3-1 set victory, and then moving on into losers finals, beating MVD, the 2nd seed, in a 3-0 sweep to make it into grand finals from losers side for the rematch against Atreus. Their 2nd set would end up going very similarly to their 1st, with Atreus and Onin going down to a tense game 5. But ultimately, it wouldn't end the same way, with Onin clutching out that game 5 and resetting the bracket. But this reset would be much more dominant. Maybe it's because Onin had a dramatic adaptation. Maybe it's because Atreus ran out of steam. Maybe it's the whims of fate, but whatever the reason, the reset ended in a dominant 3-0 sweep from Onin, to eliminate Atreus at 2nd place and with Onin winning Combo Breaker 2024 as the 1st seed, albeit by a very different route than originally seeded. Combo Breaker 2024 wasn't necessarily the biggest tournament that went down last weekend. It was overshadowed by Comicpalooza and MomoCon, both of which were B+ tiers, aka a national. Combo Breaker didn't have the insane upsets of MomoCon or the massive breakouts of Comicpalooza. Combo Breaker was an event where FGCs came first, and platform fighters are a bit of an afterthought. But what Combo Breaker had that made up for this was hype games. Combo Breaker was perhaps the best tournament of these 3 to actually watch live, and many comments on my last few videos would agree in that regard. What Combo Breaker provided was a good time, and that's plenty enough to tide me over for the weekend. As far as today goes though, that's going to be it for today's video. Before I go, shout out to my patrons Seth Laster, Fireskull333, Logan S, Persipalm, Wawa, Mr. Sinister, Happy Feet, Oshiman, Mistybot, and my tier 2 patrons Iltis, Diamond Blaze, and Ben L. Additionally, shout out my YouTube members DTR Jr., Defective, Boston R, Gone SSB, Kirby Fan, Nexus, Loco Soko, and my tier 2 members Mike G, Wu-Tang Forever, and Stormtrooper. Also, shout out my gifted tier 2 members with their usernames Ruby Master, Kuro Ruko, LWB74, and Enchanted IBE. Lastly, extra special thanks to my tier 3 supporters Fat Blizzard, who says Big Deal make it out of his slump, Avadoon, who says Mr. Rice is the go to Smash content, Iltis, who says MKLeo always comes back, and Grant I Am, who hasn't given me their message yet. If you want to support me using any of these methods, links are in the description down below. Don't forget to use my coupon code RISTER in order to get 10% off of any order from Into the AM. And lastly, I want to give one last sincere thanks to Let Me Fly for their continued support of my channel. Link to their Twitter page is also in the description. Don't miss tomorrow's upload, but until then, I've been RisterMice, and thank you all so very much for watching.